What's up, y'all? So I wanted to make another video about palm trees. I know I just uploaded one not too long ago, and I know that's kind of new for me, but like I said, I really like them, and I've gotten a few more since then. So I wanted to do kind of an instructional on how to do a specific kind of palm tree, being a coconut palm. Now these are extremely natural looking trees. They're very tropical, so like you would see them all the kind in like Hawaii or South Florida, the Keys, the Bahamas, all this kinds of stuff. But sorry, I saw something. But they can be pretty tricky to plant. They're very different than most trees. Like normally you have just a seed or something like that that may fall from the palm. But on the coconut palm, the coconut itself is actually the seed. So they like really moist climates, and can pretty much grow on their own from there. I mean, literally, you may have a palm tree and the seed might fall, or the coconut, which is a seed, might just fall from the tree, and wherever it rolls on the ground, it could plant itself there. If it's deep enough and it has enough moisture, it'll start just growing roots from the coconut itself. So without further ado, we're gonna get into how to do this. Okay, so my last video, we had this guy. We had this coconut palm. This one's a few years old. This is about actually like 5 years old, I want to say. And this one I just planted. A friend of mine from South Florida brought this up to me in St. Augustine, and so it's now planted. The coconut itself is already like broken apart and has dissolved because it's like 5 years old. I know it's tiny. It was a runt and it's been dormant for a few years, but yeah, so here's how it looks now, finally in the ground. Okay, so this one's new. This one is really only maybe a year, 2 years old or so. This one's actually older. I know it's smaller, but this one is very healthy. This one was dormant for a few years. So if you notice, first and foremost, the leaves are different. These are much more rounded and whatnot, and you're like, how could this possibly be that? But that's a few years older. And if you notice how the leaves on this one's split, they used to be all connected. And so if you look right there, now you look right here, oh, look at that. Like, these will eventually split and they'll look like that coconut. So the one thing about coconuts that are different than most other trees, like even that Adonai palm, is the way that the root system works. So whenever you plant a coconut, you actually want to leave the coconut itself out. You can see this one's actually much bigger, even though it's still just a baby. This was from what's called the mother tree. And so these coconut trees that'll grow from here will actually be much bigger than these guys. These could just be from an offspring tree, but this would be like from the original. So that's why the nut is much bigger, and this one will continue to drop eventually big coconuts, unlike this little guy. So what you want to do when planting it is you want to keep the roots, which would be right under here, you want to keep them just in the soil, but have the coconut still out of the soil. And the thing about coconuts is that, like, they're very natural. Like I said, they'll just drop off plants, drop off trees, and then they may like drop, and then they roll, and then they just like, they'll sit, you know, on the beach or whatnot. So they can grow in humid climates pretty much just on their own. So after long enough time, they might crack open like this one does on the bottom, and the roots will start to go in the sand. Note that I say sand, not really super healthy soil. Like, they're fine with sand as long as it drains really well, then it'll survive. They don't like wet feet or being really damp all the time. They can just drop and grow themselves. So when you do actually want to plant them, first off, you want something that's warm. Coconut palms can get down to like 37 degrees, 35. That's about their hardiness. Other than that, they'll start burning and they're not gonna last. So if you don't live in like Florida or Hawaii or the Bahamas, or you know, some other tropical islands, then you're not gonna be able to keep a coconut palm. Just sorry, it's just not gonna work. But that being said, when you do plant them in the right environments, you plant the nut just like this, so there's just a little bit underneath the ground. Keep the dirt or the sand that they're planted in loose. Don't like pack it down so that the roots can actually spread really easily. Unlike other trees, their roots aren't extremely strong at first, so pushing through deep sand or very hard dirt does not work very well. So plant them like that, where most of the coconut itself is above ground. Now secondly, do not overwater it. This guy I'm gonna do once a week, this guy once a week. Now this one I kind of messed up. he actually had two other palm fronds that I completely killed. Like, they were like this. I watered it every day, like a lot, and I didn't let it drain. I totally killed it. It's still okay though. You can see the hearts coming through all right. So yeah, once a week. They don't need a lot of water. Remember, they're on the beach. Typically, they're very natural. Sand drains really easily on the beach, so you don't want to soak them down. They'll be fine, really. Now, for this guy, I'm going to probably put him right over here. And the cool thing about, well, most palms, but especially about coconut palms, is they like to be clustered. So you want to keep them together. Because again, whenever this guy's big and he drops a nut, the nut's going to hit the ground and it's going to roll and it's going to stop right there, and one's just going to grow. So you want them to look really natural. I mean, you can see in these pictures, they're all together, right? Like, don't really space them out. They grow stronger together. So I'm going to do groups of 3. I had a friend of mine, like I said, from West Palm Beach. So he brought it up from South Florida. Actually, he brought up this one and that one. And that one I got somewhere else. But anyway, his degree that he got from college was landscape architecture. So when he was describing to me like how they would plant things and how they would build things in that class and just design and all that kind of stuff, typically you want to do groups of 3 or groups of 5. Like, don't do evens, but actually cluster them up. For whatever reason, that looks more natural, and it just kind of flows better, makes it look more full than doing complete symmetrical stuff. And I know symmetry looks really good, but the groups of 3 and 5 or like 7 or stuff, they just look more natural. So we're going to do that. So we're going to take this guy and we're going to plant it in the back. And I'm about to show you kind of the process. Okay, so this is the coconut itself. As you can see, so the roots are not that deep right now. And see where the black line is? So you're gonna have, really, this is half. This might be a little too much. I typically do about 2/4, or sorry, 2/3 of the coconut out of the ground. The 1/3 of it underground. It's always better to have a palm tree more shallow than deep. So trust me, if you're like, oh crap, I think it's too shallow, you're probably fine. If it's too deep, then depending on where you are, what kind of soil you're in, it's either gonna be way too moist way down there. If you're in Florida, look, once you hit like 2 feet in Florida, you're hitting water, all right? There's no basements down here. So we're gonna keep it kind of shallow, but yeah, this might even be fine. They like sand, so if you wanna pour sand in there, that'd be great. Helps it drain really well. I'm gonna get some bone meal and I'm gonna put it down in there and then go ahead and plant this guy. So bone meal always goes on the bottom, and then you don't have to put it around the roots, you just put it on the bottom level. All right, and that is it. So essentially, I got it real loose. You can even see it can still wiggle real well. You don't want those roots to be packed down too tight, and that's right about where the lime was before. That might even be too much dirt. It'll be okay though, I'll check on it in a few days. The heart still looks really good. It's gotten a little darker, but I think it'll be all right. This one, as you can see, most of the coconut's out. So this one's actually up on its side. That one's flat, so I might need to change that one. Now the cool thing about coconuts is you can plant them sideways if you want, and then they'll actually grow sideways, but eventually when they reach maturity, they'll grow up. So if you want a palm tree that's like over and up, like you see here, that'd be so cool. Just plant them sideways. They'll be totally fine. And yeah, that's like the main thing. So any other questions or concerns or anything about really any kind of palms, just be sure to drop a comment and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, favorite, subscribe, all the kind of good stuff. I'll see you guys later. God bless and enjoy the tropics.